All right, it's 6:30. Julie, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Certainly. Kara Kasten.
Here.
Ken Dawson.
Here.
Christopher Espinoza.
Here.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Here.
Terry Pavicic.
Here.
And Don Renner.
Here.
Thank you very much.
Having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item of business will be approval of minutes. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the minutes from the December 16th, 2024 business meeting, the December 16th, 2024 closed meeting, the January 13th, 2025 workshop meeting with action item, and the January 13th, 2025 closed meeting?
So moved. Second.
Chris moves, Ken seconds.
Thank you. Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Terry Pavicic.
Aye.
Kara Kasten.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Julie, item 4, do we have any visitors?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Item number 5, I'll turn it over to Hank.
Getting there. I'll invite Julia Beckman and the foundation up, Donna Dawson up to present foundation checks to grant recipients.
And hello, we're very happy to be back here. And I'd love it if we came every 2 weeks, but it won't quite be like that. I'm Julia Beckman, and I have the honor of being the president of the District 99 Foundation Board, and it's good to be back in this room again. We are presenting checks that actually were granted in the middle of last semester, but what with the Christmas holiday, et cetera, we're now presenting the demonstration checks. But these were really wonderful grants that we produced. But I also wanted to introduce you some of our board members who are here. They're behind me. Diane Richard is our treasurer, so she's really important. And Steve Ruffalo is also very important because he's a retired District 99 teacher. But we're very happy that they're here, and I'm going to let Donna Dawson, who is our grants chair, tell you all about the grants. We'll help her with the big checks.
Bus is back there. Okay, hi everyone. As promised, we're back again today, and we have 5 recipients. Well, actually 4, because one's accepting on behalf of some of the other members at North, because tonight is, I think, freshman night at the school. Right. So, okay, so we have 5 projects that we would like to recognize tonight, and we're going to start off with the Attendance Intervention Mentoring Program. So if Catherine Kelly, hi, could come up, we would appreciate it. And so we're going to ask Catherine to just give a kind of brief overview of the wonderful project that you are heading, and we're also going to honor you with our big check.
So at South we are running the Attendance Intervention Monitoring Intervention. It's a Tier 2 intervention to support students who are in the building and getting to class. It is an initiative through the ROE, and so they provided the slides, and they're in constant contact of who's working with you, how many kids are you getting, how effective is it. So a lot of schools in the area are piloting this project. We're trying to take it a step further and provide incentives, such as individual and group incentives, to just build some more culture and a community within the attendance group to continue to foster healthy decision making and really build those connections similar to the relationship mapping. So,
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next we have the sensory room. Nicole, can you please join us from Downers Grove South? And Nicole requested for funding of a new sensory room at Downers Grove South for $1,500. Nicole, can you give us a brief
Absolutely. Hi, good evening. I'm the occupational therapist at the South Building, and our sensory room provides now a controlled space for those with sensory processing needs, which is the way that we all take in our senses through this environment through our 5 senses and the way we respond. So now we have a controlled space for those individuals to go and get out their needs. It's a space for them to reduce their anxiety, to reduce their stress levels, to communicate in other ways what their needs are, and for us to allow them their private space in a safe way for them to take a quiet minute and for us to teach them how to self-regulate, because the environment of a school building can be so overwhelming for some of our individuals. And so now they have a space that they can go to, whether it be they request it or whether it be that's something we teach them to engage in, for them to get their needs met, for them to increase their focus, their attention, their communication, and for us to better be able to meet their needs within our environment and for them to increase their learning opportunities. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, now we're moving on to T99 with their entrepreneurship program, Candle Making Micro Business. Trisha? So Trisha requested for $555 in order to start up this new program at T99.
Hi, my name is Trisha Brawley. I'm the vocational coordinator at CSD99. We have a very robust micro-business program where our students participate in all sorts of work and vocational skills in-house. We make custom stickers, dog treats, mugs. I'm sure I'm missing things, and now candles. I had the opportunity when I taught at Downers Grove South to start a candle making business and saw how accessible it was for our students. So I'm really excited to bring it here with lots of lovely scents. And so we just started right before break, and we'll hopefully have some out and running by Valentine's Day.
Good. How will we find out? How can we purchase?
So we have a website. I will pass on the link. I'll pass it on to
sure.
Hank when I have it and we're ready to sell, and we'll pass on some candles as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, so another really cool project is the Disc Golf Club. This is a new club that started up at North, and I'll have Brian come up. And actually, it's Brian and some team members. So Brian is representing his team here, and they requested for $1,035.
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying that disc golf has played a major role in Larry Baca and Tony Cesallo and Maya's life over the last 5-6 years. The sport came to us in a time of need, whether it was during the pandemic or life transitions. And I can assure you that you cannot find more passionate co-sponsors than the three of us. We were graced with the opportunity to take over the club this fall. And if you know Tony Cesallo, whenever he has his mind set on something, it's going to go big or go home. So we're going big. We meet on a monthly basis at the local and distant disc golf courses around the suburbs. With our students, we've seen membership close to triple in terms of outings. We have parents play with us as well because they don't want to drive home, and it's great exercise. Most recent outing was at Shorewood in 2 inches of snow. It was beautiful. It was beautiful and a great memory. With this grant, we're now able to purchase 10 practice baskets that we'll be able to house and keep at North to run clinicals on putting, which is one of the most essential skills in disc golf, because if you can't putt, you're not going to win. So we are really grateful for this opportunity to expand and grow our club. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brian is also accepting this wonderful $1,000 check on behalf of the engineering club, where they are using the funds to purchase radio control parts.
So as I alluded to in my last speech here, Tony Cesallo is the sponsor of the engineering club. He started this up last year with a goal in mind to spread the interest and enthusiasm that he shares in being a maker and being a builder. It started off with a handful of kids who came to him and said, hey, we need to have a club. Well, this year they meet every Friday morning, and a Friday morning to be able to get 25 to 30 individuals, freshmen all the way up to seniors, wanting to participate, and whether they are students of ours in our class or they are just someone who wants to get an idea of what engineering is. So with this grant, they purchased various components for a boat. Well, I think 9 different boats, and they are modeling, 3D modeling and fabricating with our 3D printers. And the ultimate goal by the end of the semester is for them to race them in our pool. So right now they have gone through several iterations. Every group's boat looks different and has its own unique sense of style, but we're looking forward to seeing what the outcome is. So thank you.
Okay, that ends our presentation. We will start back up with our grants for the spring semester. They will kick off. Applications will open up on March the 1st. So we will be back later on. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Foundation.
Thank you, Foundation.
Before you guys leave, I'd want to just thank the foundation for the great work that you guys are doing. I mean, these grants and bringing these creative ideas to fruition is just fantastic. And to have the teachers here to tell in their own words what a positive difference this is making in the schools is priceless. So thank all of you for taking time out and doing what you do.
And once again, we appreciate the board's support, too. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. It's a public meeting. You're welcome to stick around the whole time. As I tell everybody, you may have.
Gee, I don't understand.
They shuffle to the door.
Ron.
Yeah.
They're running over each other to get out of Dodge.
All right. Moving back to board business this evening. Jury is here to provide an update on our quarterly financial report. I'll advance for you, Jury.
Okay, we start with revenues, okay. Well, we're halfway through the year, and our revenues, just like always at this time of the year, we've got a little over 90% collected because the bulk of our revenues are property taxes, and so we've already collected the revenues. There's no surprises at this time. Last year at this time, we were noticing that our replacement taxes were a little bit lower than what we had anticipated, and then later in the spring, we found out from the state that replacement taxes were going to come in lower. Last year, they did slightly lower than what we had anticipated. Then the state let us know that this year they were going to really reduce the amount of replacement taxes that we receive. So our current budget reflects that reduced amount. So we don't anticipate any surprises in that area for this year. Interest earnings are still pretty strong, and Tammy and I believe that they might come in a little bit higher than what we had anticipated. We were a little conservative. We listened to PMA. They aligned with our thoughts, so we might have a little extra there. Other than that, everything's, pretty constant. Any questions on the revenues? Okay, on the expenditures, as you can see, we're pretty much on target like we were last year with the amount that's expended. The only areas that we're watching, one is in the purchase service line item, and that would include transportation services. Last year, transportation expenditures were higher than expected, so we formed a team late last spring to look at what we might be able to do to have some cost-saving measures. We've implemented those measures, and as of now, it looks like we might have some savings in that area. That savings, if we do have some, will probably help us out in the tuition line item because it's running a little bit higher than what we had anticipated. That's all related to student services, and so if our students have, a higher need of specialized services, our expenditures run a little bit higher than what we had planned. But there's no concerns at this point at all. Any questions? And the last slide is just on our fund balance, just showing where we are. You'll see the one transfer from working cash. That's what the board approved in December for us to transfer that money into the capital projects, which paid for all the athletic facility improvements. Other than that, it all looks just, really stable at this point. Hank, do you have anything to add?
Thanks
on
to
that?
Tammy and Jeree, for all their work, and then the entire team. It's really, especially those transportation costs. I know we're looking closely at electrical costs and printing costs. There are a couple of other areas across the district that we've really tried to make sure we're containing. Otherwise, the rest is as it comes.
Right. You bring up a good point on the utilities, because last year at this time, that's when we had a big surprise on the utility cost, on the delivery costs that really increased. Travis met with the consultant, and I think we have a pretty sound budget amount. Do you agree?
Yes.
For this year. So we shouldn't have that large surprise that we did last year of about $500,000 to $600,000 that was not anticipated. Yeah.
Are the transportation savings that you reference, is that related to those are we seeing savings from those activity buses?
We do see a small amount of savings from the activity buses, yes, we do. We have really focused in on the transportation needs of any student who is transported outside of our schools to different outplaced facilities, and working with our transportation providers to come up with a more efficient way of doing that and ultimately saving some money. For example, we have our regular education transportation contract is with District 58 and District 68 to keep our costs down. So the three districts met to see what we could do to reduce our costs for some of the students who live at the shelter on Butterfield Road. And so we've combined, we have two special buses who are doing that, and so that's a pretty good savings for all three districts. That's just one idea. Mm-hmm.
Right, any other questions for Jeree? Thank you for no surprises.
Yeah.
All right, and also at this point of the year, I know the time in which we've brought the board the 5-year financial projection has varied over the years. I think we're pretty much settling in here at being end of January being our general time now and into the future. We have an idea of what our estimated levy is at that point. We're halfway through this year's expenditures. So we just feel like this is a good time to start to make this the tradition of presenting around end of January, beginning of February on the updated 5-year financial projection. So I'll let Jeree take it from here.
Okay. Yeah, just to kind of add to that, there's a couple other areas that it really helps to wait until now. One is capital projects. So Travis and his team have a much better idea of what the plans are for the next summer. And then Gina's office has a better idea of textbooks needs and such. And those are pretty large expenditures. So it does help to wait until now, along with already having a pretty good idea of how this year is going. So with that, we'll start with the very positive, which is the very bottom line, ending fund balance. And you'll see the percentage of revenues. Our goal is to stay at 5% or better. And so with this projection, we're showing that we should be able to keep our fund balance, above the 5% mark.
Just a reminder of that 5% is the number that Jeree and I have picked to try to stay above. The board's policy is 3.
3. Mm-hmm. This projection does take into account the negotiations that's currently going on with DGA and possible projections with that. It also takes into consideration any retirements that are coming over the next few years, which can be a savings and a cost at the same time. The revenues are just based upon what we know is CPI and then an estimate of CPI just based on history. And then we've kept state and federal funding flat, which it pretty much has stayed that way. The only outlier on that was during COVID when the federal government did provide us with some additional funds. But otherwise, we stay pretty flat on the federal funds. Other than that, there's, can't think of any large items to look at that's going to affect this, other than the ones that we've already put in there, the textbooks, capital projects. Oh, that's right.
There's one.
On the capital projects, okay, this one is just snapshotted, but if you're looking at your computer and you see the large screen on it, the major capital outlay, Travis and I met and we identified that some of the areas that have been categorized into major capital outlay over the past few years has really been repairs and maintenance. And we wanted to keep those separate so we'd have a better idea of what the true capital projects are costing. And so you'll see that's a reduction, but just some of the expenditures have been moved down to a different line. The cost is pretty much relatively the same.
It's a recategorization. of
It is. And then
expenditures.
we don't see a large expenditure in capital outlay over the next few years because we plan on doing a number of life safety projects.
There's one project that was noted in your memo that's still absent from this, which is the replacement of the field house floors. That's somewhere between $1.1 and $1.3 million estimated to do that project. We have a little over $300,000 set aside right now for it. So we're going to get a little closer here towards the end of this year, maybe into next year, to look at which of these future years it either sits in or gets scattered between multiple financial years. You can see there is a surplus there that allows for that and allows us to stay above the 5% threshold. We need a stronger idea of finances in each budget year to determine when we'll come to the board for that actual project. So that is a chunk that needs to come out of here. We just don't know. We know it's not this year. So it's probably in the next 2 years, and we'll just determine when is the best time to come to the board with that final project.
Would you do one school 1 year and one the next?
There's possibilities to put it across two fiscal years.
Yeah.
As well. Like you do it over the summer and one school's paid out of one fiscal year and the next one's paid out of the next fiscal year. So there's different ways you could do that. Either way, we know there's about $1 million of additional expenditures that fit into our budget, into our larger budget picture, but we didn't want to reflect that in here until we were closer to get there. So just important to note that that one is coming in some shape or form over this 5-year period.
One other line in here that you might wonder about, the transfer to other funds line item. We transfer money from our education fund every year into our debt service fund to make lease payments. That's an accounting rule. We didn't used to have to do this transfer, but now we do. So those lease payments pay for the Chromebook devices, the staff devices, the print devices, that's all on a cycle. And so those are just our lease payments. So instead of coming directly out of the education fund, we transfer from the education fund, which is part of the operating funds, into debt service. But it is an expenditure. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Jerry, for all your work on that. All right, this is the one that the board looks forward to every year.
Just letting you know that we've abided by the rules, and Raymond James files all the disclosures for us. And they did it back in December in a timely manner, so it's just to let you know that the filing was completed.
All right. The next one, there's really, I don't think, need for a lot of discussion. The team is proposing that we do not increase athletic summer camp fees. So for that, there's no need for board approval. No, we're just informing the board that we're keeping that flat. If the board wanted to discuss those more in detail, we could bring them back at a future agenda. But at this point, it's more of a FYI. We're not planning on increasing those fees next year. So if you'd like to discuss them further, let me know and we'll add it to a future agenda.
We can't reduce them?
No, we do not believe we can reduce them.
So last year, we met as a larger group with the athletic departments, and we reconfigured the way the fee structure was for the summer camp fees. And there was really good feedback from the parents with the fee structure. And so we would not recommend changing the fee structure, but at the same time, we also believe that the fees that we currently set last year should just flow forward for 2025. And then I would anticipate, we'll look at it again for 2026.
All right, any other questions on fees? All right, next couple of things come to the board every year in the same format. So summer school and ESY compensation recommendation. Rob? It's just, yeah.
Simple, we just take last year and multiply it by CPI. It's pretty easy.
So that's the recommendation. It's an action item this evening that you approve that annual increase in line with CPI. Summer school calendar and summer calendar. Rob also works on this as well. Presented a calendar that reflects what we've done in the last, 6, 8 years, something like that.
Long time.
Long time. So that's up as an action item for approval this evening as well. Discipline improvement plan, because of the way that state metrics work, pretty much each year, we're going to end up having to present a discipline improvement plan to the board. Scott works on that. Scott has given you a preview of that this evening a view of that this evening for approval before he sends it off to ISB. Scott, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I just would compliment our buildings and Kelly Zerner and Karen Taylor have really done a lot with restorative practices, and we have an outside consultant. They've also created with a few other staff members that went through some of the restorative training with our outside consultant to create like a professional development opportunity to bring restorative practices into the classroom, and it's been pretty successful. So we'll continue to expand on that. So we're excited about that. And then our Mustang Way and Positively North teams continue to work on, using the data from, students that are bullied or harassed and try to build prevention activities. And we kind of have like a bystander kind of training that goes out to all students to just, be aware of it and how they can engage and stop it. And, so we're excited about that work. And
Can I ask you how that, I've seen that in the workplace more, that bystander training, like is that, it makes perfect sense, but do you see kids actually taking it up?
We started it last year, so it's like kind of like we're continuing with it because we know through our different data points that obviously we need to continue to work on that. So being fairly new, we're trying to work on baseline stuff and how we're going to kind of monitor it. I think honestly, what I give credit to the district is that there is not a lot of schools that are actually implementing like a bystander training. So I do give a lot of credit to District 99 to actually, do this kind of work. It is new, and there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there in the universities and colleges as well as the workplace. So we're excited about the work.
Challenging at a teenager age than,
Right.
an adult, but that's great, yeah.
So we're excited about that. And then obviously our PATH program is another piece that we expanded. We have full-time staff members. We present at the parent-teacher advisory. I know the data in that, we keep looking at the recidivism of, and the data continues to, last year, we haven't calculated it all, obviously, for this school year, but definitely is a strong point that we know that we're making an impact on students. Doesn't mean that we don't have our challenges and all that, and like Hank said, we'll kind of have probably this improvement plan every year, but I think it's a good thing to keep us accountable and really looking at the data and what we can do to support students, so.
I just want to point out, also thank you, Scott, for leading the team and for all the team members that are working on this. Unfortunately, just the way that the numbers are structured in the law, a district with our size that is high school only, with our demographics, will pretty much guarantee that because there's multiple ways that you could reach this list, right? And it is likely that every year, based on just our size, demographics, and the fact that we have high schoolers only, will make it so that the numbers work out, that we'll continue to respond to the state mandated plan. The work that Scott's describing is our work anyway, right? We would be doing work on improving our response to discipline issues and concerns regardless of this plan. So, but Scott and the team do a nice job of formatting it and getting it in the way that ISB needs it, and so that the board can approve that work and move it forward. So, any questions for Scott?
Actually, just one other thought I'm thinking as I'm reading the bystander training, that I don't know if you do any work with the various clubs with some of these groups, but sort of, working through some of the minority clubs around bystander. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, it's been out to just the all-student body. It hasn't been.
Oh, okay.
So all students get the training?
Because I think some of those clubs are particularly focused on things like that, being in LA.
Yeah, I'll put a note down to bring it up to our team, though. Because that's a different avenue of obviously training.
Just another way to reinforce it, or groups that might be a little more receptive to a message like that.
Any other questions or suggestions, comments for Scott? All right, this is an action item later on this evening. All right, scoreboard advertising. Travis brought this to you for first review last month. He's back to answer any questions you might have this month.
I just don't like that there's no termination provision. So it's a 5-year agreement. We can terminate if there was a breach, just on a breach of contract claim, but there's no language in here about termination before the 5 years is up.
Unless there's the breach, but yes.
Yeah, but that goes with any contract. So are they sinking costs into their process of seeking? I mean, generally you wouldn't have a termination right if an entity's gonna put up front costs that mandate its ability to, its need for a 5-year term. But I don't know that that's really the case in this arrangement. I don't want to put a wrench in the deal, but I also don't want to put us in a situation where we get into this a year in and we don't really like how this firm is operating, and we don't really have a way of getting out for another 4 years after that. That's my concern.
Sure. If they don't sell the advertising, they don't make money.
I get it.
So that's part of the draw with that. Also, I completely agree with you that there's nothing else in there that, we say if we're not happy or they don't reach a certain benchmark, there's nothing that's in there that gives us then that ability to go through. So if you'd like me to go back, I certainly can and say, hey, we want to, put in a provision for that. The only timeline we're on is trying to get this going so that we can start seeing some revenue.
Maybe come at it, say, we'll give you 12 months, but after 12 months, if you don't meet certain projections or thresholds of generating revenue, then we have the ability to terminate after 12 months. And maybe that's a sliding scale during the 5-year period, so that it's, if they're making any representations on, hey, we think we can generate this amount of revenue, and you say, if you don't meet 75X of what, you're projecting, then we have a right to terminate. And then maybe find somebody else who might be able to do a better job. I just don't want to be locked in for 5 years, that's all I'm saying.
Would you like us to table this tonight? Do you want to approve it with the
I'm only one of
provision
7, so I'm just expressing my concerns. If you're asking me how I feel, I would like to propose that idea back to Scoreboard Media and see if they'd be willing to negotiate on an exit strategy before the 5-year term.
Can you remind us, I know you talked about, but there's not a lot of options out there, right? Because a lot of them are large, national, right? Can you just remind us, like, do we have other options? Like, if we can't get them to do that, like, what else?
It is limited.
Okay.
This company is also broader in the scope that this is not all that they do. They also do billboard advertising. It's a sister company, if you will, of that. So they have the national connections. But I completely get where you're coming from my conversations with them. I feel that their reputation, their local, they're going to strive to get as much as they can because it's mutually beneficial with that. That being said, I also see where you're coming from. But there are not as, this is not a huge, at least right now, right? As more schools look at doing things such as this, that may grow, and there may be more companies that come about, but right now there's not a lot.
If he came back on February 3rd, we couldn't approve it because it's a workshop meeting, is that right?
No, we could. We just make it a workshop with action.
Am I the only one who has this concern, or is this?
I would agree with you, Don. Now's the time that we iron out little details like that, and I think it's very important that we do have an exit strategy if they don't meet our expectations. We shouldn't be locked in for 5 years. So I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And if it delays it for 2 weeks or even a month, it's worth it because we're talking about a 5-year commitment here.
Yeah, I think if they're able to provide us with some sort of termination clause based on a metric of X% of their projections, that'd be more comfortable for me, I think. And to Ken's point, an extra 2 weeks is not going to make or break if we're already not.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not asking for just like a no fault, no cause termination, right? This would be, you're just not generating, revenues that we were anticipating or what you were representing as a possibility.
Yeah, because that locks us in for 5 years if we're unhappy.
Yeah.
And if we're not making any money, then.
Yeah, then it's just sitting there and they have the exclusive right to sell and they're not doing a good job.
We're locked in, so.
Yeah.
I think an exit clause is very important.
And based on what you're saying about that company and their reputation and their track record, I don't think they'll have any problem making that kind of adjustment to our contract.
Yep, I can certainly do that. I think that the part of the challenge is when you're talking about advertising, I get the component of they've said, I think I included that in the presentation. They think about
50 to 75.
years 1, 50 to 75,000 in the estimated our revenue, right? So a certain percentage of that. And I would think that it would give us cause to, doesn't mean it's an automatic, because as we investigate it, that's how I would suggest that the language is written, right? It gives us that opportunity.
It's a may, not a shall.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Make sure that I'm.
And you can. I think I'd be comfortable saying we don't have a right to terminate in the first 12 months. Because there's a ramp-up period.
Yeah.
right? You know, they've got to educate the market before they can sell it.
Right.
All right, we'll go from here. Travis, you and I can chat after. See what we can come up with, see if the company is open to that or not, right? It's a
Yeah.
negotiation, right?
That's right.
So.
That's right.
And then we'll table it for this evening and bring it back. It depends on how quickly we're able to engage.
Alternatively, Travis and Hank, I mean, if they're not willing to do any type of termination agreement, then maybe you could come back with a shorter term. And instead of a 5-year term, we'll give you a 2-year term with no termination. But a 5-year term with no termination rate, I think, is just a little
It's a long
excessive.
time. It's a long time.
Okay.
All right, we'll go back to work.
Thank you.
All right, FOIA requests, we receive them periodically and respond to them promptly and post them on the website. Consent agenda.
Okay. Before the board votes on the consent agenda, is there any agenda item a board member would like to pull out of the consent agenda for further discussion? Okay, hearing none, can I get a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes A, the personnel report, leave of absence classified, appointment classified, B, personnel report resignation classified, C, personnel report termination classified, D, December financial pages, E, student trip, F, IHSA application for cooperative team sponsorship, boys gymnastics, G, annual comprehensive financial report, and H, review of closed session minutes and verbatim recordings.
So moved.
Second.
Terry moves and Chris seconds.
Thank you. Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Krista Espinoza,
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom,
Aye.
Kara Caston,
Aye.
Ken Dawson,
Aye.
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. All right, item number 7, recommendations for action. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the 2025 summer school and ESY compensation recommendation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Chris moves, Ken seconds.
Thank you. Krista Espinoza,
Aye.
Ken Dawson,
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Kara Caston,
Aye.
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the proposed 2025 summer school and summer calendar as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Terry moves and Jenny seconds.
Thank you. Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom,
Aye.
Kara Caston,
Aye.
Ken Dawson,
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza,
Aye.
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the 2025-2026 discipline improvement plan as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Ken moves, Chris seconds.
Thank you. Ken Dawson,
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza,
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Kara Caston,
Aye.
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. And then item D, we're going to table for now?
Yep.
Okay. Any old business, Hank?
Not old. We've got new.
How about new business?
Policy Committee sends the following report, first reading of policies to the board. Julie has done a wonderful job of, as always, presenting to you for first reading. There's a combination of clerical changes, some substantive changes, but not so drastic that we feel like we need to outline them here at the board level. They've been reviewed at the policy committee level. And then we also, I don't think it's reflected here, but just so you know, we reviewed a few policies that had been quite a while since some of them hadn't been reviewed since I had been superintendent.
Yeah.
So we went through and reviewed some that hadn't come to the policy committee for a while to just update that they had been reviewed by the team. So here is the first reading of policies with changes. They will come back next month for approval. And the next month, as you review these, if you have any questions or would like to discuss them further, please reach out to myself, Don, or Chris, and we can either answer those questions or get them for discussion at the next meeting. Otherwise, they'll come back for approval in a month.
At the meeting, of the policy committee meeting, it was very straightforward. We didn't have much discussion, so nothing earth-shattering in these policy updates.
All right, that's it for new business.
Item 10, Julie, do we have any reception or
Yes, we do.
visitors? Okay.
Inviting Shaughnessy Ashdown up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
No problem. My name's Shaughnessy Ashdown, and I'm a longtime Downers Grove resident. I attended Downers Grove schools my whole school year time, and that was a long time ago. I want to thank you all so much for your service to our community and for this this collegial atmosphere this evening. One thing that I'm really passionate about is cultivating an anti-bullying school culture, and I was really happy to hear about the bystander training that you talked about today. In that ilk, you know that we just got a new president who ran on a campaign of demonization of LGBTQ people. And I'm a volunteer with Youth Outlook, and I can tell you that the kids are really, really suffering. They're really scared. And I happen to hear that the Trevor Project, which has a suicide hotline for LGBTQ people, that after the inauguration last week, they got an increase in calls by 700%. So, trans people, gender divergent people, I include myself in that, we're generally that way from birth and all through our schooling years. And so during this period that's very difficult for them, I just want them to be foremost in your minds. I'm also concerned about ICE raids on schools. They said that they were just going to come after criminals, or some Republicans said that, but I know that an elementary school on the south side of Chicago has already been visited by ICE. They didn't let them in, I'm not completely against any deportation, but I think that this kind of action is very traumatic to children, and it can also increase absenteeism, right? Because immigrants, if they're unsure, they're not going to send their kids to school. Yeah, it's a lot easier to round up people who go to work every day, send their kids to school, than the criminals. I have heard that funding for special ed will experience massive cuts. That's the end of my 3 minutes. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, turning to item number 11. Jenny, any updates from Lynn?
Yeah, Hank did circulate the slides from the meeting on Friday, but we had our first meeting of the new year on Friday. It was just before the legislative session is getting underway, which I think is today. So the kind of the key bills that they are focusing on right now are the dual credit and the polling places legislation. So for dual credit, they are hoping to present more of an appeal process for credentialing of teachers, because I think they've found DuPage County, even amongst other counties in Illinois, we don't have enough teachers that are certified for the dual credit teaching, and so they'd like to make it a little bit easier to get more teachers there, and then in turn get more students. With regard to schools as polling places, right now, if the Board of Elections requests that a school be a polling place, a school can counter by saying that the use of the school interferes with scheduled programming, or that the use of the school as a polling place poses a safety concern. And if that is raised, then the Board of Elections and the school district can work to find an alternate location. If an alternative location cannot be found or agreed upon, then they can appeal to the Board of County Commissioners, who then decide the location of the polling place. So they're kind of pushing to, I think less and less, or try to avoid using schools as polling places. There is also a data collection component to the legislation, looking at things, for example, as the percentage of people who participate in earlier mail-in voting. The legislation would require that the Board of Elections would have to gather and provide this data. So that's kind of in the works. There were a few other bills that they touched on. You can kind of read about in the PowerPoint. There's a mobile panic alert system, a child placement bill, which would allow parents to record meetings with their child's IEP team. There was a bill about student surveys and getting parental consent if we're asking about protected personal information. Another law about students who are found in possession of a firearm on a school grounds or school campus, sort of just to kind of, generally law enforcement is immediately notified and it sort of becomes the law enforcement agency's issue to handle. But they would want the bill to say that the principal of the school must immediately notify the student's parent or guardian and coordinate with the law enforcement agency, just so that there's communication between the school, the law enforcement agencies, and the parents or guardians. They are still looking to make Election Day a state holiday, which would be November 3rd of 2026 would be the next one. Just for like school calendar planning purposes, they put that out there. And then there were just a couple of bills about interscholastic athletics. First, that students who are in special education programs at schools that are there through age 22, that they are eligible to participate in interscholastic athletics. And then also students who are non-public school students, they attend a non-public school but reside in the district, they can participate in extracurricular athletic activities sponsored by the district without being required to enroll or meet any coursework requirements if certain conditions are met. So that's kind of the gist of it. And then the assembly begins this week, so.
Yep, it'll be a busy
I'm sure
legislative
it will.
session.
So,
Like it.
and then we'll have a meeting the end of February, next one. So.
Thanks, Jenny. Chris, any report on SASSA?
No, we have a meeting on this upcoming Wednesday at the Sasset Center over in Lyle. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Terry, any further update from the Education Foundation?
Just as you saw tonight, we gave out some checks, and we will be giving those out again towards the end of the year. And we're still trying to decide what to do with the Mark McDonald Fund. We're thinking about maybe doing something with Mooseheart, because he was very passionate about Mooseheart. And so we thought that would be a good place. Since we don't have a lot of money, we're just, trying to decide. We're just working on our calendar to, so everybody knows what to expect, kind of like what we do, So, what's coming up in February or March. And so we're doing that, and we're still trying to find someone to help us with the website. So if you know of anyone who would like to work on the website and help us make it a better place to go, we would appreciate it. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, Ken, any update on IASB?
Next DuPage Division meeting is Wednesday, March 5th at Addison Trail High School. So anybody that's interested in going, let Julie know and she'll get you registered. The topic is preparing students for a changing economy. So that should be a very interesting and relevant topic. So I'm definitely going to be there, and hopefully some of you will have time to attend as well.
I'll be there.
Good.
Okay. Sherrell's not here, so I'll skip that on the Downers Grove Plan Commission. Item 12, upcoming board meetings. Our next board meeting will be here at 6:30 p.m. on February 3rd, 2025. It'll be a workshop meeting followed by February 24th, regular business meeting again here at the ASC at 6:30 p.m. Next item, can I get a motion from the Board of Education to go into closed session for A, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and B, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the district, or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity.
So moved.
Second.
Chris moves, Ken seconds.
Thank you very much. Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. And then for the members of the public, the only item that the board will be taking, or the only action that the board will be taking when it comes out of closed session is to adjourn. Let's take a brief break and then we'll adjourn or start closed session. Thank you.